All right. The recording is in progress. We're gonna just get started and folks can join us as they'd like to. If they show up a little bit later, we're gonna have this recorded and it'll be posted to our website after the fact. And you can also reach out afterwards if you have any questions or concerns or would like some more information. I guess to start out, my name is Emma Perez-Stoyer. I'm the Executive Director of Union Hall. I have she, her pronouns that I go by. Esther, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Esther H.C. and I go by she, her, and I'm the Chief Curator at Union Hall. And I'm really excited to be here, and this is a new role for me.
We're really excited to have Esther as a part of the role. We're a very small but mighty team, and we're just thrilled to be doing Rough Gems again this year. This will be our fourth iteration of this program. Yeah, fourth iteration. So that's pretty exciting, and really feel like we're starting to hit our stride with it, and appreciate all of your interest in Rough Gems. So I'm going to share my screen in a minute, and then I'm going to go through some of the information on, I'll talk a little bit about Union Hall, a little bit about Rough Gems. I'll go through the application process, and then we'll have a lot of time for Q&A at the end. If you have any specific questions about the application process or your proposal in particular, we can get into some more specific questions. All right. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So to start off, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Union Hall and give you all an intro on Union Hall if you don't know about us or haven't been to our space before. So how am I doing this? There we go. Technology is still a little difficult for me. Union Hall, we were founded in 2019 and we're a nonprofit arts exhibition space. We primarily support emerging artists and creatives in the Denver area. And we also have a lot of events in our space. A big part of our programming is also doing interdisciplinary events in addition to our rotating exhibitions. Here are some of our values that we hold at Union Hall, including innovation, inclusivity, impact, and inspiration. We're big fans of alliteration. We love the letter I. Also, those are our values. You can find out a lot more information about Union Hall and our mission and vision and values on our website, which is recently redesigned by our gallery and marketing manager, Jess Diaz. So yeah, feel free to go to unionhalldenver.org and find out a little bit more about Union Hall in general, which I think will help with the application process as well. A little bit about Rough Gems. So when thinking through our programming for Union Hall, we really wanted to find a way to support the community by doing something new and different with this program supporting emerging curators. We realized that there's a lot of resources for individuals who are interested in being artists and more resources for artists, but there's really nothing in the Denver area, at least, that's focused on supporting emerging curators and providing resources for them. So that was a big impetus behind creating Rough Gems and wanting to create a space for emerging curatorial talent to be able to showcase their ideas and be able to have some funding for that, some mentorship, some support. So that's really our vision for the Rough Gems program. Sorry, I'm also admitting people as I'm talking to you. So if I'm taking a second, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, down below, just a little bit more who this is targeted towards. So this program is not solely, you know, it's for emerging curators. I think that the term curator can mean a lot of different things to different people. And for us, we really want to widen the definition of that and ensure that if you're interested in just organizing exhibitions, it doesn't have to mean that you have a degree in art history. If you love bringing artists together who are, friends or colleagues or individuals in the community who you really respect, if you're interested in more interdisciplinary events and performances, we also accept proposals that include different art forms outside of the visual arts. So I know a lot of our past proposals have included visual arts, but we do welcome proposals from different disciplines as well. And what we are, obviously, we're an annual open call and a collaborative curatorial project. We really want to work collaboratively with the curators and artists and help them realize their own vision for the space. This program in 2023 will take place from January 19th to April 22nd. That will include three-week exhibitions. So the first one will open on January 19th. I don't have the opening dates right in front of me, but that'll be open for about 3 weeks. They usually open on a Thursday, close on a Saturday. And we are leaving about a week and a half for deinstallation and installation. So plenty of time to turn it over for everybody. And and then applications are due October 3rd. So just a little under a month to get the applications in. And this will all take place at Union Hall. If you haven't been to our space before, we highly encourage applicants to take a look at our space, either by coming to see our current exhibition, The Story of You and Me, and just coming by our space during open gallery hours, which are Wednesdays through Saturdays, 12 to 6 p.m. You can also attend our next informational session, which is 2 Wednesdays from now, and we're going to have a few Rough Gems alumni there who can answer some questions on their own experiences with the program. We're going to be doing that in person at Union Hall this year, which we're excited about because you can also see the space and ask particular questions about maybe different mechanisms or the flexibility within our space. So just some things to keep an eye out for. And that's some general information on Rough Gems. Do you have anything to add so far, Esther? Should I charge on through?
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So a little bit about what we provide. We really try and make an effort at Union Hall to provide stipends to all of the artists, curators, creatives that we're working with. We recognize that, we want creatives to be able to make a living off of what they're doing. And we're really trying to work towards fundraising each year and increasing those stipends year over year. For next year, our curatorial stipends are $700 to each curator participating. You can have up to 2 curators in each exhibition. So if you're applying, you can either apply as the sole curator, or you can work collaboratively with another curator for a curatorial team. The artist stipends are $300 for each artist, and you can have up to 6 artists per exhibition. And then we also provide some of the things below, some of those resources. We try and provide some mentorship throughout. So once an application is selected, we work with the curator to identify how to really ensure that that exhibition can come to life in our space, identify any potential snags in terms of, what we have available, and, with the layout, if that'll actually work within our space. And really try and work with the curators really closely and mentor them throughout the process, providing some guidance, some support throughout, providing marketing and social media. We do press release and media outreach for all of the exhibitions. So really try and get the word out and help with that marketing on your behalf. We assist with the installation and deinstallation process. One thing to note here is we still expect the curators to be involved in the entire installation and deinstallation process, but we are able to support, our staff is able to support, and if we need to hire some additional folks, if there's more intensive installation that needs to happen, then we can also assist with that outreach. We have a lot of tools and resources in our space. One thing to note here is we will be announcing quite soon. We started doing these free workshops that are open to any artists or curators who want to join. We started that this year as a means of trying to create more affordable resources for artists and curators in the community. And we are really excited that our next one is going to be all about installation. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be on September 24th. And we'll talk through all the install tools and methodologies there. We also help budget in for the vinyl, the exhibition text in vinyl and help with installing that. We do exhibition guides. We have a photographer who documents the exhibitions. You have full use of our facilities. We do have some movable walls. I'll talk a little bit more about all of those features of our space, but we have some movable walls, furniture, and some technology. There's also a list of our technology that's on the application page on our website. And support for some supplemental programming. I'll talk about this a little bit more also later on in the application materials that are required, but one thing we do require is ideas for some programming. Each exhibition has an opening reception, which we help organize, a curatorial talk, which we help organize, and we allow for one additional program. And that can be anything from a workshop, a panel discussion, to a concert, a performance in the space, anything that you think really ties into the exhibition and you think would be a really good thing for the community and something you're really excited and passionate about. So yeah, and then we also staff the gallery during our open gallery hours, which again are Wednesdays through Saturdays, 12 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. All right, budget guidelines. This is always the funnest topic. So we have this included on our website, our budget guidelines, which are updated for this year. If you've looked at them from previous years, we have updated them just a little bit. This is a downloadable document, and you're able to fill out the budget column, and it'll automatically populate the totals, or it should, in Excel and Google Sheets. And then you'll see some notes on the right-hand side. So we're really trying to just provide as much guidance as possible so that you have an understanding of how to propose a budget for the exhibition, what we typically are able to offer. And then this doesn't have to be so strict if you do feel like there's additional costs that are really vital to your exhibition. So for example, if you had 2 curators in your show, you would put $1,400 in the budget for that line item under curatorial stipends. And if you had 2 artists, then that would be $600, and it would automatically populate the total. For some of these, I provide a little bit of a range, you know, for about how much we can usually provide for programming that we're doing, for installation, for install materials, art shipping and handling. So these have approximate amounts. There's a few things that I do really want to note here. Number one, I will say to try and keep in mind that a big goal throughout this is that we want to make sure that we're keeping stipends and funding standardized across the board and really fair from exhibition to exhibition. So we want to make sure that, you know, all the artists are getting paid the same amount, that if different individuals for programming are doing similar roles, that they'll get paid similarly. So for that reason, I guess one thing to note is that, you know, if there's any potential snags according to that, we can always, you know, have some back and forth once the proposal is selected and talk through some of those things. But for example, I would, instead of thinking of this as like one larger amount that you're trying to fit within, that it's, you know, $2,500 and I have that much to place wherever I'd like to. So, you know, for example, if you only have one curator for the exhibition, and that's only $700 in that line item, that doesn't mean that you can then pay $700 additional for the artists or in other areas. So it doesn't necessarily transfer that way. So I would just keep in mind that we're really trying to keep stipends fair and even across the board. And if there's, stipends you think should be more for certain reasons, or additional costs, you feel like your shipping cost might be a little bit over, those are things that we can absolutely talk about, and we're not going to discount you just because one of the line items is $100 more. But I would just, have an understanding that if an exhibition is selected, if a proposal is selected, we'll have some of that conversation after the fact. We do, if there are additional materials costs, we do encourage you to add the approximate shipping costs, approximate materials costs that you think and any other costs that you think are additional for this show in particular, to really try and think through all of those as much as possible. Keeping in mind, number one, we're a small nonprofit, so we'll try and budget in what we can, but we may not necessarily be able to account for all of those costs. Number two, I would just, I can't remember what my number two was. I guess just, trying to be like as specific as possible. So, it's better to know upfront that there will be additional materials costs than to select a proposal and find out after the fact that there's $1,000 of extra materials costs that the artist wants to create new work. So yeah, I think just keeping those things in mind and trying to be really mindful when going through all of those line items in the budget. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to ask them either at the end of this talk or reach out individually to me. You can reach out to the info account, info@unionhalldenver.org, or my account is just emma@unionhalldenver.org. Okay. Here are just some of the past Rough Gems exhibitions. I'm not going to go into extreme detail on all of these because I want to make sure there's plenty of time for questions at the end. But these were our 2020 exhibitions. That's literally behind with George Perez, New Wave with Kyle of When We Are, and there is really no difference between Art and Prayer with Robert Martin on the right. So those were our 2020 exhibitions. 2021, that was Ali Lemon's Exclamation Point, and MG Bernard and Genevieve Waller's Mirror Mirror, and then Kaya Butcher's Object Empathy. And I really encourage all of you to go on our website under the Rough Gems tab. There's past Rough Gems exhibitions. You can get a lot more info on these exhibitions, and it might just provide a little more guidance in terms of, what those layouts looked like, what the artists were like, what the, concept was like. And that doesn't mean you have to mirror any of that, but just to give you an idea of what has been done previously. And here were this year's exhibitions. So Amy Hoagland's Perception Shift, Virga with AC Grix and Brooke Van, and then Made Known that Nate did. So yeah, those were all of our past Rough Gems exhibitions, and this will be our 4th year doing it. Now we're going to get into what we're looking for in applications. Maybe Esther, do you want to talk about aesthetic conceptual appeal a little bit, and then I can talk about, some of the other items as well.
Oh, sure. So as far as aesthetic conceptual appeal, that can be very broad, and it can be anything really, but what we're looking for is something that really fits within the Union Hall programming exhibition calendar. So it's a really good idea, I think, to kind of look at what we've shown before. Like, we don't want to show multiple, the same type of show in a row. So just taking into account, what's on our calendar and what we have done. If you're a photographer and we just had a photography show, that might be something to think about. Or if you're showing photography work, it might be something to think about. So that's one thing. But ultimately, does it align with Union Hall's mission and vision? And will it bring value to Union Hall's space? And something that Emma had shown in a previous slide was just our values. And it was innovation, inclusivity, impact, and inspiration. So I feel like a proposal that really contains all of those elements in whatever way that you want to bring it is a really strong proposal. And then Emma will talk a little bit about, inclusivity and accessibility, and also supplementary programming, because I think if you have all of these 4 elements here and you're really taking into account innovation, something that's new, a new way of thinking about something, bringing a new way of showing something, a new way of experiencing something, something that is also inspirational and fun and maybe even educational. And if there's supplementary programming to go along with these things, it's just a huge bonus for us. And then, what kind of impact is it going to have on the community? Who will be benefited from either experiencing the show or being a part of the show? How will it impact your career? I think is another thing too. Yeah, and we're so open to thinking outside of the box too. So don't, and if you have any questions at all, like, I don't know if this is appropriate, feel free to email me or Emma, and just kind of, we can maybe help reassure you or guide you or ask you some questions that might lead you in a different direction or the same direction. So yeah, I'll let Emma take it from here.
Thanks, Esther. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, obviously a lot of these are pretty broad and can mean a lot of different things to different people. And I think just having some intentionality behind all of these elements in the proposal is a big part of it. So yeah, I think that in terms of inclusivity and accessibility, that is something that's really meaningful to us. We want to make sure that you're trying to take that into account, and doing so in an intentional way. So just really figuring out how can I create an exhibition that feels like it's representing a diverse group of artists, and that can mean in terms of background, it can mean in terms of discipline, also, trying to keep inclusivity and accessibility in mind. That is something that's really important to us on a number of different levels. If there's aspects of your exhibition that you think would make it more accessible or inclusive, then we, would love to support that in different ways, whether that's budgeting in potential translators or interpreters, or yeah, trying to tailor other elements to ensure that we're aligning with our DEI goals and our accessibility goals. Yeah, clearly defined budget. I already went through a lot of that. Again, if you have any questions on specifics, feel free to reach out. The supplemental programming, we're definitely, open to a whole range of different ideas, and really appreciate when there's some thought that's going into the programming. It's a huge part of what we do. Every single month we have free yoga sessions, concerts. We've done poetry readings in the past, film screenings, performances of different types of art workshops, panel discussions. So really anything that you think would be really exciting and make sense within the scope of your exhibition and your proposal. We'd love to hear your ideas, and you can always propose a few ideas and then see which one is the best fit. So just some things to keep in mind. And yeah, we're really excited to see what you all come up with. A little bit about the gallery layout. So again, definitely encourage applicants to take a look at our space and come on by and be able to see it in person. We're such a funky, different type of space that sometimes it's a little bit hard to explain or get across in these layout documents. This is also available on our website as well. You can see there are dimensions on there. The sliding glass entrance on the top left is where we usually leave the doors open for folks to come in and out throughout the day. We have some passersby within our building. And so really want to keep it open and welcoming for individuals who are just passing by to be able to stop in. That desk on the left-hand side is movable. It's on wheels. Those two L-shaped walls are 9 feet by 9 feet, and those are both movable. There are some limitations to that. Certain areas where the pipe grid in the ceiling, we do have also a pipe grid in the ceiling where all of our lighting comes down. So yeah, there's some limitations to where we can move the walls within the space. We also have some additional panel walls that we are able to move in and out. The L-shaped walls are on wheels. The panel walls are in our storage unit, and we can, bring them out and they just screw into the pipe grid. We have two projectors, one that's not movable, it's stationary. That's the one that is shining on the right-hand side. The second projector is movable, and we can position that in different areas in the space. We also have TVs and access to a media player. I think that's most of our tech, but all of it's listed online. We also have a sound system and wireless mics to keep in mind. If you have any questions about tech as well, you can reach out and ask questions about that. And that structural pillar in the middle does not move. The bench seating is not movable on the left-hand side. And that's just this bench area, which you can sometimes use as a seating area. We do have some furniture to fill it out. If you want to fill out the space a little bit more, and there's not as many works, and you want to cut off that section of the space or a different section, we are able to do that. You can also use the bench seating to put artwork on it. We've done that before as well. So a lot of options there. And again, we can answer any questions, and we are basically asking for preliminary layout, and that can always be changed through conversations with us down the line and through the installation process. But we want to sort of get an idea that you're thinking through the flow within the space. And then that kind of leads us to what you need to apply. So that's a one-page written curatorial statement, just sort of outlining what is this exhibition, what does it look like, and what does it mean? Like, what is the overall concept? And how do all the works tie into that, and all the artists tie into that? A little bit of a bio and some information on each of the curators involved, a bio and art statement for all the artists involved. You can provide links to artist websites and CVs and portfolios. I wouldn't include that in the document itself because it gets a little lengthy that way, but you can just, provide links to their websites and we'll check it out. We also ask for between 5 and 25 images. These can be, reference images, samples of their past work. It doesn't have to be the specific works that will be in the show, but as much as you're, able to provide, and as much relevant information as you're able to provide visually is really helpful. Some ideas for supplemental programming. We say it can be an art. We do an exhibition opening and closing, or an exhibition opening usually, and a curatorial talk for each of the exhibitions. And then I would also include, 2 to 3 additional, maybe like 1 to 3 additional ideas for programming, in terms of, maybe a concert idea and a workshop idea, or whatever combination that you want to put together. The budget breakdown, we have that document just ready to go for you. So all you have to do is download it and just fill it out. And then your ranked preferences for exhibition time slots. So we have those 3 time slots. Those dates are outlined on our website. And we ask that you rank your preferences for which time slots would work best within your schedule. I will mention we're not always able to accommodate those. Sometimes all 3 of the curators or curatorial teams select the same one as their top choice. So sometimes we do have to work around that and make accommodations, but we do try and abide by your schedule and your preferences as much as possible. All right, and the deadline is October 3rd by 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We ask that they're submitted in PDF format. You can either, send it via email, or they can be sent through Dropbox or WeTransfer. And you send them to our info account. We'll confirm that we've received it, and we will send out notifications to all applicants, whether you're accepted or we're not able to move forward with your proposal, we'll let you know by end of October. And this is just a little shout out on our next info session. It's just a really casual happy hour with some of our Rough Gems alumni. It'll be on Wednesday, September 21st, 6 to 7:30 p.m. in our space. And it's free, it's in person, it'll be fun, we'll have drinks. We'll just kind of chat and it'll be pretty casual. We'll just answer questions and you know, walk you through the space a little bit as well. So yeah, that's all the info. All of this is available on our website under Rough Gems and under the applications tab of that. And we, again, will have this all available online afterwards on our website. And yeah, you can also reach out with individual questions. So we're gonna have some time for Q&A right now. So if anybody has any questions, you are welcome to just unmute yourself and ask a question to either myself or Esther, or you can also ask a question in the chat box if you prefer. So whatever you prefer is fine with us.
So I did have a question. I came in a little bit late because of traffic, but does Union Hall take a certain percentage of the art if it sells? And if so, what is that percentage?
So Union Hall actually does not take any percentage if the art does sell. What we do is we just connect whoever would like to purchase the art directly with the artist, and we don't take any percentage of that. I will say we don't have like, as a nonprofit organization, we don't quite have the capacity yet to do sales sheets and like really retain like clients and work on those efforts with them. But yeah, if somebody expresses interest in the artwork, then we'll just connect them with the artist. Okay.
And then I had another question regarding programming. Typically in the past, like what are the parameters around the programming that can we do? So would we be able to do dance or music? What about meditation and like other things? And what are those specific parameters?
So really we're open to a whole bunch of different ideas. If you have a lot of different ideas, you can, have a longer list as well. If you want to, and it doesn't have to be like super detailed. It can just be, a general idea, like I want to do a performance or I want to do a meditation. And both of those are great options within our space. Sometimes we do have to tailor the capacity or tailor the show to make sure that the artwork is safe and that, it fits within our space, but we're really open to a whole range of different ideas.
Okay.
Hi, this is, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if there's any other questions. So you go on ahead.
I've got a question. This is Ladis Feliciano. Thanks so much for making time for this and putting this together. I noticed in the application that you ask for a list of the artists that will be part of the show. So I'm wondering if there is any flexibility to include a call in your proposal. So for example, if I had a proposal where I knew I wanted artists who are working in a certain type of medium or who are working in a particular concept or idea, and I want to do like a couple week or month-long call to select those artists. I know the timeline is tight. Is that something that's possible, or is it preferred that the lineup for the artists in the exhibition be selected ahead of time?
I mean, I would love to be able to like offer to do a call, but I will say that the timeline is so tight. We really, we select the exhibitions by the end of October, and the first install is beginning of January. So, I mean, there could be potential for that, but I think also having the artist allows us to visualize that in the space a little bit more. We also are a little bit, I will mention that Rough Gems is the intention behind it was really to support more emerging curators and artists. I know that means a lot of different things to different people, but I think that, you know, being able to like see the artists that are going to be involved does help us a little bit in making those selections throughout that process. And yeah, I mean, I would say that like if that proposal was able to be the third one in the slot, then there could be potential for that. My concern would just be that I think it would take away from being able to really have an understanding of what the exhibition would look like, not knowing who those artists would be. And then also I think if for some reason we weren't able to have that be the third time slot and it had to be the first, then that would probably be a drawback for selecting that exhibition. I don't know if all of that makes sense, but yeah, I mean, I think that doing a call would probably be really challenging within the time frame. That's my answer, unfortunately.
Right on, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. It's Kyle. I was in actually the first year of Rough Gems, and I've just loved the space and loved everything that you all have been doing throughout the years. And I'm curious if there is the opportunity or just the openness for previous curators to propose a concept for the upcoming year.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I think that we would definitely consider another application from you and from previous curators. We would have to keep in mind, like, that is something we would potentially have to keep in mind because we do want to try and support a lot of emerging curators in the community, but it's not something that I would discount or say that you're not able to apply a second time if you'd like to.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I know it's for the new curators and artists as well, but just wanted to just check in and see what the possibilities were.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have another one. So if the art breaks in the middle of the exhibition, who is taking that financial responsibility?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We do have insurance through our space, which covers all exhibitions and all the artwork that's within our space. So we would communicate with the insurance company and trying to get reimbursed for those damages.
Okay.
I have a quick question. So as we're doing this application process, are you guys around, let's say, like if I wanted to kind of pre-submit my application and ask for feedback, if you need more information here or more information there, is that something that y'all have time to do?
Unfortunately, it's not a matter of time, but I would say that we aren't able to accept pre-submissions to provide feedback because I think that that would just be an unfair advantage, and if we were able to like provide that for some folks and not for others. But I'm definitely willing myself, and I'm sure Esther is as well, to, you know, have a meeting and have a call and answer specific questions. We just wouldn't be able to like actually review a draft of the proposal and give you feedback on that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about your proposal or like any details about the application process as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I will say that this, if you haven't been to the space, it's amazing. Really high quality lighting. The space is typically painted like a dark gray color. And I did want to clarify with Emma, if somebody wanted to paint the walls and like change the color of the walls, is that something people can do?
Thanks, Esther. Yeah, so all of our walls, as Esther said, are this dark gray color, and that includes the whale walls, which is what we lovingly call the giant L-shaped walls in our space. we are not able to paint the exterior walls or like the walls for the main walls that go up to the ceiling. So we wouldn't be able to paint the entirety of our space, but if there's like a singular accent wall, for example, one of those movable walls, we are able to paint those. If you think that it would look better with a different color there, then we are able to accommodate that. For Amy's show as well, she decided to do some circular, like oval shapes in the background of some of the work. So like more just smaller shapes we're able to do at times.
Hey,
Right.
quick question, Emma. For that show for Amy's, it was a little difficult to remove that circular imprint that was left behind on the paint. So I'm not sure if that's something that we do want to do again, because it was a little, well, a lot more extra love and the labor to restore the walls back to what they normally were. So that's up to you guys, but just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks, Jess. So that's Jess. She's our gallery and marketing manager. And yeah, I think that in that case, the reasoning behind that was because we used a projector and then an X-Acto knife to create that circle. So I think if we could find another way, or if there was another type of shape that wasn't required, you know, for example, if we were doing like a triangle and we were able to just do that with using painter's tape, then that would be a different scenario. But yes, to Jess's point, I don't think that we would want to paint the walls in that manner, like using the X-Acto knife again.
It looks like we have a question from Florence, and they said, is the intention also to support emerging Denver artists, or do our artists need to be Denver based? Good question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, actually. And I think can start a little bit of a discussion on like national versus local artists. So I'll say the curators do have to be Denver based or front range based. And in terms of the artists selected, we do recognize that we want to support local artists, but we also think that it's really valuable sometimes to be able to have national artists as part of an exhibition, and we welcome that as well. I would not have more than half national, and I think some of that will also be dependent on shipping costs as well. So out of the 6 artists, I don't think we've ever, often we have like 1 to 3 that are national artists, and a lot of that is dependent on how much we can afford for shipping, which generally we are able to budget in about $300 for shipping for each exhibition. So if it's, you know, one artist with really large work that would be more expensive to ship, then you may only be able to do one national artist. So that's a big part of why it ends up being mainly local, but we are open to proposals with national artists as well.
Do you guys have a particular shipping company that you use that we need to get quotes from, or do we just kind of do that on the fly?
So we don't generally do like professional shipping companies, since we are a nonprofit organization with a limited budget. We're not able to like go through ShipArt or something like that. We usually do it through, are we doing USPS now, Jess, or is it Shippo?
We use Shippo, which is a third-party shipping company. We essentially print our labels through them, and they give us prices for a bit cheaper rates on carriers, all of them from USPS to USPS. Generally not FedEx. FedEx is the most expensive, but I mean, I'd say like you can get rough estimates from UPS, USPS, and then it'll likely be cheaper with our third-party label creator.
But we are happy to help organize that as well, and you know, work with the artists and can either put together labels for them, or if they want to go ahead and ship it, then we can just reimburse them. So there are both of those options. One thing I also do want to mention, a little detail, which is on our website as well and in our materials, just to highlight that if you are a curator for the proposal, you cannot also be an artist in the exhibition. We really want to make sure this is supporting individuals who are interested in curation, emerging curators, and ask that you don't have your artwork in the show as well.
I also had another question in regards to the budget document. Since it said $100 to $200 per participant, is there a cap on the number of participants for the programming?
Oh, for the programming, I believe it's like we don't have a specific cap on it, but we do have a limited budget. So I would say like generally what the cap might be is like if you're having a panel discussion, and I would probably cap it at like 4 or so people, just to keep it pretty standard across the board in terms of what we're spending on programming. But again, it might be dependent on whether it is like a panel discussion versus a concert of some sort with different musicians or performance. There's also only so many individuals that we can have in our space. So we are a 1,700 square foot space. So that can be limiting in certain ways as well. If you have like a 4-piece band in there, then you can probably have seating for around like 40 or so people, depending on what the exhibition looks like. But it does sort of like limit how many individuals you can have walking around the space. So that's another factor to take into consideration. If you want to walk through any individual ideas, I'm happy to go through like what our approximate stipends are for those individual scenarios. But you can always, propose something, and then if we usually give a stipend that's $50 less than it or $50 more, then we can always have that conversation as well.
Okie dokes. Thank you.
A question I have to go off of what was just expressed in that programming. Say, for example, you do have a small concert. If for those 40 people that may have been mentioned, if tickets are sold for that experience, how are the splits for those tickets shared?
Yeah, so I mean, again, that would probably have to be a case-by-case basis and hearing a little bit more specifics about what it is exactly. But I would say typically for Rough Gems, a lot of the programming we do keep just free and open to the public. If it was a circumstance of like, and most of the time I will say with concerts, especially the past few years, and I know Kyle, you were doing your exhibition and worked with Union Hall in 2020, the beginning of 2020. And there was like, I think Union Hall previously was working more towards like ticket sales and making money in those circumstances. I'd say for most of the events that Union Hall does, if anything, we break even on it. A lot of times we'll, have free wine and food and stuff there. So yeah, it sort of depends on those particularities as well, and whether we do make any sort of profit. I would say 100% of the profits are going to go towards usually food and bev and stipends for the performers that are there. So that's generally how it works out. We don't usually have a huge margin of profit from those events, but yeah, it might depend on ticket costs and everything.
Sweet, understood.
All right, well, I'm just gonna thank our sponsors because I forgot to in the beginning, but feel like I should thank them pretty quickly. And then if you think of any other questions, we can get to them afterwards. You can put them in the chat or ask them after I'm done with that, but super quickly, just want to thank the Colorado Community Foundation, which are the homeowners in the building that we're in, which actually helps support our space. It's this really interesting structure and really helps us be able to do all of this programming that we do and keep it really affordable and accessible. for the community. Also Colorado Creative Industries, the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts, the Bonfi Stanton Foundation, and the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation. Our main sponsors for 2022 for all the programming that we're doing and for Rough Gems in particular. So just a quick shout out for all of them. Does anybody else have any questions on the proposal, on the application process or your proposal specifically? All right, well, I will let you all head off. Thank you all so much for participating in this and for your interest in Rough Gems and for applying for it. We're really excited to see all of your applications and look forward to reading them. Again, if you think of any other questions after the fact, feel free to reach out to myself or Esther, and we're happy to schedule a call with you or answer some questions via email. And yeah, we have our Rough Gems Alumni Happy Hour in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.